Why do we procrastinate? How does our brain sabotage us? Pay attention. Right now, you are procrastinating something. Have you thought about what you're putting off? The task you need to do is urgent and important. If you don't take action, the consequences will be destructive. You know this. You have plans for life. You have responsibilities, and time is passing. Will you be able to catch up? Even when you try to start the task, this urge to procrastinate doesn't leave you alone until the very last moment. You finally begin, and suddenly, you pick up your phone. I'll start in a minute, you say. Then you realize hours have passed, and you think, at this point, there's no point continuing. So you decide to start tomorrow. But why? Is this laziness? Is it a lack of discipline? Or is it a character flaw? Let's look together at how psychology approaches this issue through experiments and observations. According to psychology, this problem cannot be explained by laziness alone. According to psychology, this problem cannot be explained by lack of discipline alone. Procrastination is a much deeper and far more systematic mental process than we think. What is procrastination in psychology? In psychology, procrastination is not simply delaying a task. The definition is this: choosing the behavior that provides short-term relief despite knowing it will cause long-term harm. In other words, avoiding the problem. You are actually avoiding anxiety. You are avoiding feelings of inadequacy. You are avoiding the fear of not being able to do it. You are avoiding failure. Psychology tells us this. Our brain wants to define things. It tries to evaluate what it cannot clearly define. Fear and anxiety send signals to the brain. Your brain is trying to protect you from anxiety, feelings of inadequacy, and fear of failure. The mind does not like uncertainty. Uncertainty exhausts it. It tries to eliminate uncertainty, but if it expects exhaustion, it chooses to procrastinate. Let's look at some research. Research findings: 8 out of 10 university students report that they procrastinate regularly. Approximately 20% of adults are chronic procrastinators. Among individuals with procrastination habits,
Anxiety rates are 40% higher. Depressive symptoms are 30% higher. People with procrastination problems have 40% higher anxiety levels. People with procrastination problems show 30% more depressive symptoms. You might be included in these statistics. There are things you need to pay attention to. Focus. To solve a problem, you must first know its source. Our problem is procrastination. You may have noticed earlier that I said depressive symptoms are more common among people who procrastinate. This is striking. Depression is a serious issue. It negatively affects our lives. It damages our relationships with friends. It harms our relationship with the person we love. It disrupts our work life. It makes it harder to regulate our emotions. It makes it harder for others to understand us. You can now see that the issue is not just procrastination. Procrastination is literally making us sick. And the percentages are quite high. A famous experiment, the Zygarnik effect. In the 1920s, Russian psychologist Bluma Zygarnik conducted an experiment to understand this problem. She observed waiters in a restaurant. The experiment took place in a restaurant. Bluma followed the tasks of the waiters. The waiters remembered customers whose orders were unfinished much more clearly. In contrast, they barely remembered customers whose orders were completed. Zygarnik then brought this observation into the laboratory. Participants were given simple tasks. Some were allowed to complete them. Others were forced to leave them unfinished. Let's look at the interesting result. We remember unfinished tasks 90% better than completed ones. So what happened? The brain continues to process unfinished tasks mentally. And now we arrive at the critical point. This is where the real problem begins. If we never start a task, the brain never opens that file. We try to force ourselves to open it. The real cause of procrastination: inability to regulate emotions. Now I'm telling you what modern psychology says. Procrastination is not a time management problem. It is an emotional regulation problem. In short, we cannot control our emotions. We get lost among them. When you're about to start a task, you make excuses. You say, "Let me check my phone for a bit, then I'll continue." In reality, you are afraid of failing at that task. Simply put, you are afraid. Everything you tell yourself is a lie. In the background, your anxieties are guiding you. And it's not just fear of failure. Your fear is not being able to succeed. The brain perceives this as a threat, and it pushes you toward behaviors that provide instant relief: coffee, TV shows, sleep, phone, food. And the result is procrastination. A battle between two brain systems as described by Daniel Kahneman. The mind operates with two systems. System 1 is fast and pleasure-oriented. System 2 is slow and rational. During procrastination, System 1 wins. System 2 shuts down. And the mind stops caring about the future. So what do we do now? Okay, we understand. But what now? How do we overcome procrastination? I've had problems because of the things I postponed. If I had taken that course on time, what would my life look like now? Now it feels pointless to start. I have dreams. I don't want to procrastinate. First of all, getting angry at yourself does not work. Insulting yourself does not work. Putting yourself under pressure does not work. Setting big goals does not work. Now I'm listing methods that scientifically work. You only need to follow these. All of these methods have been tested. They are all evidence-based. You just need to apply them. 1. The 5-minute rule, behavioral activation before starting a task, just start it. The key point is this: you will only do it for a very short time. For example, just 3 minutes, no more. This is a method to trick your brain. Before starting, your brain would resist. But if you say you'll only do it briefly, the brain doesn't resist. Also, 60% of the task is starting it. The remaining 40% is easier. This time, we trick the mind. It thinks we'll work endlessly. The brain must be crazy. Even if the brain can endure, the eyes can't. It creates unnecessary stress. You can't reason with it. 2. Shrink the goal, one of the most effective methods. You start the task in its simplest form. Let's say you want to write a book, but be quiet. Don't let the brain hear, it will panic. You're not writing a book, you're just opening a document, that's it. You won't complete the whole task, that's impossible anyway. No one writes a book in one sitting, so don't tell yourself that you will. 3. Stop fighting yourself. Research shows that people who treat themselves with self-worth procrastinate less. They sustain procrastination for a shorter time. They recognize that they are struggling, but they know it serves their long-term benefit. They make rational plans for themselves. They take breaks when tired. For name the emotion before starting a task, ask yourself, what emotion am I in right now? Am I anxious or calm? To control your emotions, you must first know which one you're experiencing. When it's a negative emotion, intervention is necessary. Otherwise, it will take over. Procrastinating does not mean you are lazy. Procrastinating does not mean you are undisciplined. Procrastination is the brain trying to protect you by giving a false alarm. If you want to silence that alarm, you must cooperate with your brain. If you fight yourself, you won't succeed. Don't suppress it. Don't silence it. Don't bully it. Learn how to guide your brain. You need to step in at the right moments. You must not give it full control. I gave you 4 different methods. You now know what to do to overcome procrastination. Just control, just control, just control. In today's world, everything moves extremely fast. We can't keep up with normal effort alone. And under these conditions, if we develop procrastination, we will face serious problems. If you want more content like the video, subscribe.